Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Business is War podcast. My name is Elliott Forman. I am your host, and today's topic is love, life, and liberty. We're going to speak with Fox and Rob, a polarizing couple that has had a path of redemption that everybody in the world needs to know about. And today we're going to dig in and dive deep into all of the gory details and the beautiful details. And so today I say thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
So listen, where are you from?
Shreveport, baby. Well, listen, I'm going to tell you like I tell most people in New Orleans, is that when you consider that New Orleans was the largest slave port in our country, then all of us are from New Orleans. Some of us just got shipped a little further up north than others. Right. But Rob and I were both raised in Shreveport, and I made New Orleans my home almost 14 years ago now.
Mm-hmm. So wait, is that really what Shreveport was? I know New Orleans was a slave port, but Shreveport is a different port. Mm-hmm. And I hope it doesn't have any slave historical implications, right?
Oh, my goodness. I think that it is just a matter of how many slaves went up there to work the cotton fields. So when you talk about people being imported from Africa and being sold across the state of Louisiana, often you hear people want to be territorial about whether you were born in New Orleans or not. And so my thought is that all of us were bought here one way or the other. We have sourced this land in one form or another. So, we are from Shreveport, Louisiana, but made New Orleans our home about almost 14 years ago.
Well, I can tell you the city of New Orleans needs you, and thank you for coming. You know, for me, your story is unique. It's beautiful, it's touching, it's compelling. I recommend that everybody watch your documentaries and support you in every way possible. So let's start at the beginning. So where'd you go to college? Grambling University, Ruston.
Grambling State, Grambling, Louisiana.
Grambling, Louisiana. Mm-hmm. Man, listen, that's a small town.
It is a small town.
And aside from the college, is there anything else there?
There are colleges. and just some of the most beautiful homegrown folks that you can ever imagine when you think about even the founding of Grambling. It was to educate Black people, specifically in education. And so my mother and all 5 of her sisters went to college because that was the new wave for us. Go to school, get you a good education so you can get you a good job.
Listen to me. I don't think that's a bad narrative because, today we fight back. Is college worth it? Because obviously they've done some scam work around how much it cost. And so now you get out of college with a social worker degree and a $200,000 loan, and it'll take you 30 years to pay it back. Mm-hmm. So I still believe education is the pathway to financial progression, and you need to be educated as much as you possibly can because the K through 12 don't do it for you, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So they need what I call higher learning. Mm-hmm. But higher learning fails to educate in business and things that are real life skills. That's so right. I struggle with whether or not it's even worth it at this point. You know what I'm saying? But let me just tell you that I find that compelling because I see that you built a life, a beautiful life. You met this wonderful man. Tell me about the high school relationship.
I think I have to let Rob tell you about that. I probably would even start out by saying that we are Fox and Rob Rich, a formerly incarcerated couple who spent more than 21 years behind bars before we received clemency in 2018 from our governor in Louisiana. And Rob has been home 7 years now. 7 years now. And our story would go on and be immortalized in the Oscar-nominated film Time. And we are also the creative force behind Time 2 Unfinished Business. So our love affair goes all the way back to 1987, if you can believe that.
That sounds Rob, so long ago.
Tell me when you first met her.
When I met Fox, now there's a debate.
Okay.
On what day of the week this actually happened, but I remembered it because it was on, like old people say, it was on a Friday.
Okay, all right.
It was on a Friday. It was actually Friday the 13th. Is how I recall it in my head. But at any rate, I met Fox through a mutual friend of ours. She was my church member friend and Fox's classmate. Mm-hmm. And needless to say, they were, and then there's where the story differs again. But my version is that they were shooting hooky from school one day.
No, not the educators, dog.
Listen, let me tell you something, Mr. Forman, what I will not have you doing in here.
Come on, man. Okay, all right. So they playing hooky.
I was taking a mental health day.
Okay, yeah, we didn't know they had those in '87, but okay, go ahead. I'm listening. Yeah.
So if it would have been, it could have been.
But they were in between classes. So back when they had these classes where you could go to your home school during the day, and then maybe about you check out, and then in the morning or in the afternoon, you go to a neighboring school that had a nursing program or a welding program or some other type of viable skill or trade that you could pick up, that would kind of help you post release from high school. At any rate, Fox and them were in between that transition. Mm-hmm. And realized they didn't have a way back to school. They ain't had no Ubers and Lyfts and none of that stuff back when. So Wanda, our mutual friend, decided that she'd call me because she knew I was home visiting from the home on leave from the military. And I agreed to come by and pick them up. And when I pulled up at her residence, Fox answered the door. And when she answered the door, I know you heard people say that, there's a such thing as love at first sight.
Go ahead. I'm listening. Give me the details. Bro. Give me the details.
I'll just say something happened. I don't know what the something was, but it was something that I hadn't necessarily felt before. And that piqued my curiosity. And I would probably spend the rest of the day trying to convince her that I was worth the time.
Yeah.
And did that by, returning a phone call later on that evening after the friend of mine who joined me to go pick them up. He was also home visiting from leave in the military as well. And we decided to go over to pick him up. And in so doing, he and Fox actually exchanged numbers. And
I'm just saying, Brian.
somebody was gonna get the opportunity. Huh?
We gonna meet some folks.
But I noticed when they were in the back seat of the car, I'm in the driver's seat, and she's sitting right behind the driver. I noticed that we kept catching eye contact. And so, I sensed that it was something there, even though she wasn't one to all out admit that it was something there. But I ended up calling her later on that night. Not that she had given me her number, but my friend had tried to reach out to she and Wanda early, and we wanted to see whether or not they wanted to go out, hang out, and kick it. And Fox didn't answer at the time. Me and my friend, we decided to go on and hang out by ourselves. Later on that night, I got back home. We had a feature back then on the phone that you could do star 69.
Sure could.
So star 69, I just star 69, the last number that I knew had been called from my phone. And it went back to her home number, to which she answered the phone, and we started talking, and she was like, "Wait a minute, I thought you was messing with my girl."
And how that go? Go ahead.
He said, "Call her on three-way," and I was like, "Ooh, three-way, you want to call and confirm?" And he called and was like, "Wanda, why are you telling people we a thing?" She was like, "Huh?" Okay. So anyway, it was just, it was kind of like the start of the romance. At that point, I was like, "Oh, he gonna prove himself to me." So
well, no. Listen, I'm not mad with him for putting his foot on the gas through the floorboard. Okay.
Yes.
He basically was like, "Look, man, I'm about to,"
and ain't nothing stopping me. And he has been that way since, almost 40 years now. Rob and I have been together. So
I'm not mad with you.
Years later, wow, that's crazy.
I'm not mad with you. So listen, so you formed a relationship, mm-hmm. and what happened next? Did you go right into family planning? Did you kind of? Give me the game on how you guys got to the I do stage.
Well, shortly after meeting Fox, like I said, I was in the military, so I had to report to the Navy. And so I had to report to a overseas duty post, but I had a firefighting school that I had to go and complete first before going. I went to Norfolk, Virginia, where I got my firefighting training. And then after getting training, I ended up going to Holy Loch, Scotland, and spent 2 years in Europe. And then, so Fox and I had basically what would amount to a 10-year on-again, off-again relationship, because the very moment that the relationship started, I got shipped overseas. And so our relationship was a long-distance relationship for all the years that I was living abroad.
10 years?
No, 2 years I lived abroad as far as the military was concerned, and then after which, Fox and I broke up in between there. So during that 10-year on-again, off-again, we always maintained our friendship.
Yeah.
But our love relation with one another, or at least our partnership with one another in that regard, it would dissolve from time to time. But like I said, we never would stop communicating with one another, and that would go on for maybe 10 years or so. 1995, I went to the Million Man March, and then going to the Million Man March, I was basically ordered to do a few things. And one of those things was that I was supposed to go back to my community, start a business, so that I could hire my people. and educate and train my people. And the other thing is that if I had children already out there, I needed to wed the mother. At that time, I had 2 separate kids from 2 separate mothers, and I had to pick which one of them I was gonna wife, you know. And so therein began my journey. And so in 1995, I set out with the intent of moving back to Shreveport, Louisiana, away from New Jersey, where I had been living, and moved back to Shreveport, Louisiana, with it on my mind that I was going to wife her, and we were going to start a business together.
Now, did you tell her that you was going to do this already, or you just had it in your head?
No, I just had it in my head.
There
so
you go.
I pulled up on her and her boyfriend that night, and I was like, look, it's a new sheriff in town.
Damn. Bro, listen, I don't have that gear. You don't care. See, I care. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, look, I'm not mad with you, but I'm telling you that I wish I would have met you a long time ago, because I would have stolen some of that rambunction. You know what I'm saying? I'd have got it. You know, but hey, look, I'm not mad with you. So you done just told the boyfriend, hey, look, there's a new sheriff in town. We about to go ahead and do something.
Yes, sir. So unless you plan on doing what I'm talking about doing, then, you know, I think you need to let me do this. And we've been doing it for 38 years now. And so,
married for 29 this April.
God spare life, I'll do it again tomorrow.
I heard that through the grapevine, you know? I'm not mad with you there. So you done went ahead and jumped the broom, and you got some kids together, and now it's time to start this business.
Yeah, so therein began the journey of Fox and Rob. I proposed to her. We eloped to a small chapel down in Kissimmee, St. Cloud, Florida. We found a wedding chapel down there that would allow us to exchange nuptials, eloped, we did, and later that night, they had this spot that was set up outside of our hotel, so we decided that in order to consummate our marriage, they had a bungee jump, exhibition or setup that they had out there, so we bungee jumped as a way to consummate our marriage.
How big was the bungee jump?
Oh, it was way up there.
I'm not doing that.
You fall, you're never coming back.
Yeah. Oh, see that right there. See, I don't have that either.
That must say you fall.
No, I'm not doing that either, man. Yeah. And remember, I was raised in the Church of God in Christ. You know that. You know exactly what that is. From the deep roots of the Mississippi. And so we didn't play them kind of games. You know what I'm saying? We already had enough to deal with out here with other people.
Right.
You know, but yeah. Okay, so y'all done bungee jumped and got married in Florida.
Got married in Florida, came back. We closed on what would be our family's first home. Purchased a building that would become our family's first building. And all of this was probably within 30 days of coming back from Florida.
Aggressive.
And we went to the Magic Show. The Magic Show is a fashion show that they host, I think, twice annually in Vegas. Okay. And it's where you basically go out and order all clothes and all things, garment related. So we went out there and we got in this big old place and everybody was there. FUBU was just starting out. They were like the headline in terms of like
the new hot key.
Yeah, and everybody was excited about, what they were doing. Carl and I had been doing, similar, prior to, but he just didn't have the same, coming out as FUBU and them managed to have. And they just had a whole lot of people, that were really at the start of their careers. Diddy was at the start of his career. Just
with Sean John?
Yeah. Okay. Not with Sean John as a clothing brand, but just him as a record label. They were performing talent that was that was happening at Vegas during that time. And so it just had a host of people. Big Pun, Bougie was Naughty by Nature. Everybody had a clothing line, And so we went out there with hopes that we would be able to work out deals with some of those, and then be able to have clothes shipped back to our hometown of Shreveport. And we started what became Culture Clothing, and Culture Clothing was Shreveport's original urban clothing store. And we set out, we opened our doors, and just as we got back, waiting on shipments to come, we go and talk to our investor, who had been in contact with prior to, thinking that when we got back, we could go by and pick the check up and pick up with the rest of the business, and only to find out the investor pulled out on us. Damn. And probably after a number of attempts, trying to make this idea come to fruition. Conversation we were having earlier, waking up every day with a new idea. I mean, this is about as new as Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying? About as new as, the internet or anything like that when a big boom comes. Hip hop was a big boom.
Sure was.
And for trying to convince people in small town USA that this was the thing to bet on, it wasn't an easy sell. And so that being said, the house that we thought that was our dream home, we found out that it had a shifted foundation. They didn't have the technology in place yet at that point in order to just do the elevated thing or whatever and prop it up. So as a result of it, all of the furnishings and the carpets we had paid to redo the house, the first bad rain we got, everything came inside.
Oh, man.
Watered us out. We wasn't properly positioned in the home, like we should have been. And if that wasn't enough, our third oldest son, he was diagnosed with an ailment that, doctors couldn't figure out. And it created a John Q moment for me. And I ultimately sought to regain financial solvency by robbing a bank. And by far one of the worst decisions I've ever made in my life.
Yeah, that's a hell of a decision. It's an idea that I don't know if I even would. I mean, I couldn't do it. I'm freaking scared, But man, listen, if you are faced with enormous pressure and odds against you, I understand what desperation to do. So did you have a good plan, or you just was like gonna wing it?
Man, it was just I don't know if there is I'm not a professional bank robber. So, the thing. So the things that we see and how they play out on Takers and, some of the movies where it's all calculated or the dudes that robbed the casinos and all of the Ocean's 11, that's fairy tale. I'm sure there are some people that operate at that level, but that wasn't mine. I was operating from desperation, not out of skill.
Yeah.
And that being said, I went in, I brandished a firearm, asked for the cash, I ran out, I got caught. I went to jail, they prosecuted me, I got 60 years as a first offender.
And Fox was the getaway driver.
That's what she was coined as. She actually just dropped me off around the corner from the bank, and then she left. She was ultimately implemented into our scenario in a way that led her to becoming a co-defendant and being coined as the quote-unquote getaway driver.
Gotcha.
And just over space and time and fighting the legal battle, from where we started and then ultimately where we were sanctioned and sent to serve out our time. Between there, a lot of different things happened, along the way. And as they happened, it just got, worse and worse and worse. And we were trying to do all we could to maybe untangle it or whatever. But like old people say, oh, what tangled webs we weave.
Yeah, when we conspire to deceive. So listen, so you didn't get an accessory. You got a full implication.
It started off as a full implication, and then I eventually, after they had sentenced them so excessively, Rob got 60 years. Our nephew, which is our fall partner, got 45 years. The young man didn't even have a weapon. He only had mace. And so when you think about nobody receiving medical treatment from our transgressions, initially the DA he offered me 40 years. As a plea deal.
So how do you just go and use those numbers in real conversation? I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't it?
No.
Yeah, but it absolutely does. That's why we're the state with the highest prison population in the whole world per capita.
I'm going to get to that because 1 in 14 black men in Louisiana are in jail.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I'll also tell you that, the suicide rate in Louisiana from people that are incarcerated is through the roof, and the largest body of those people are in solitary confinement. Mm-hmm. Now, tell me about Ontario. When you have such a bad day like this, it has to do something to the relationship. Mm-hmm. I can only imagine. I mean, it ain't like y'all sit around and barbecue every day. Mm-hmm. So, do you guys have a relationship? I mean, do you speak?
Mm-hmm. I think Ontario and I we've been close. When I say close, because we're close in age. My father basically gave birth to me at a time that he probably should have been through having kids. But how some people say, you got an old dad.
Yeah.
Well, I had a much older father than my peers. And so I had a lot of siblings that few of which probably old enough to even be my parent.
Wow.
But that being said, they started having children during the time that I myself was still a kid. And so with that being said, my nephew and I are only like maybe a handful of years separate from one another in terms of age. And so my mother passed, my biological mother passed when I was 5 years old. And shortly thereafter, I went to go live with a couple of my siblings as my dad was working to reset his life. And at which time I went to live with my sister OJ, which is Ontario's mother. And in so doing, it was like I grew up with her two sons. Ontario has an older brother, but that being said, it was like we grew up like brothers for the most part.
I know that. I know exactly that scenario.
But they've always referred to me as uncle. And so it's always kept a certain pecking order in the relationship. And even though we're, like I said, just a handful of years apart, but as far as the type of relationship we had a relationship that felt more like a brother relationship than it did as a superior, inferior or, master teacher type of relationship. But he still looked up to me nonetheless. And we maintained that relationship. And then once we became incarcerated, of course, we spent far more time together than we had spent previously, before.
Wait, you guys were in Angola together?
Yes. We got...
for the whole time?
Not for the whole time, but for several years before he got transferred and went to another prison. But the amount of years that we spent in Angola with one another, sleeping right next to each other in prison, we got a really hell of an opportunity to really unpack, just decades or years of, of family, things and all of that. So he's probably by far one of the family members that I know deeper than any of my other family members, but it's because of the scenario or the situation that had us in the same space.
You had the time together.
Yeah. So, but yeah, then after that, so once I got out of prison, probably one of the biggest takeaways that me and Fox have had throughout this entire experience is that when you know that you are given another opportunity to re-enter society, that you have a duty and an obligation to somebody. And because you can't spend that kind of time in service with anyone and then not feel some type of connection or responsibility for the people. That being said, we took up with the notion that to be free is to free others. And so not only did I owe my nephew an opportunity because he didn't get the same benefit that I got, I was fortunate enough to get out through clemency through our previous governor. And as a result of it, my nephew, he didn't reap the same benefit. We were in two separate prisons at the time. We were no longer around each other. And so much of what I was working on, was totally separate and different from what he was working on during, his incarceration. I was in South Louisiana. He was way up North Louisiana. And but that being said, I was ultimately able to get out through clemency. And in so doing, I knew that I had a responsibility not only to my nephew and to his mother and his father, who had helped raise me.
Yeah.
So I carried the weight of that, once I exited.
Of course you did.
And so, if you're not careful when you go through scenarios like that, you come out and then you kind of feel what people feel when they went to war. And that is that they come back and they feel a sense of survivor's guilt and natural, emotion to feel. But at the same time, I had to transform that whole ideology because I can't just waddle in it. I got to get the man out. And in so doing, Fox and I picked up with a piece of legislation or turn legislation, but it was a civil matter turn legislation that I started while I was incarcerated as it related to people with a geriatric type of scenario. Okay. Meaning that they had what would amount to a life sentence in numbers, practical, meaning that they had 30 years or more, had no opportunity at parole. And I took up with a fight while I was in prison to right the wrong there. And that fight would continue on after I got out of prison. But it was the very fight that I had to continue in order for us to be able to give not only my nephew an opportunity to get out, but several other men who had invested in my argument while I was incarcerated. I owed it to them as well to see it through. And in seeing it through, Act 122 became a law. And but it was at the base of it is the argument that I broke into the court systems from a administrative remedy procedure that I started in prison, turned civil litigation, from civil litigation to reinterpretation of law to passage. And that passage not only helped my nephew get out of prison, but it helped more than 3,000 other men and women that thought that they were going to die in prison.
Shout out to Act 22.
Yep.
Now, let me ask you. Let's talk about the trial. Mm-hmm. Do you care to mention the DA's name?
Mention? Mm-hmm. Oh, no, without a doubt. I mean, I don't have a problem mentioning it.
Okay, yeah, who was it?
The prosecuting attorney was Clifford Strider. He was a special prosecutor that had been brought in on the case. But why did they need a special prosecutor? Why couldn't it just not go through the traditional rails? I think in our society, we have a tendency to think that we are a nation of trials, but in truth, we're really a nation of plea bargains, because more than 95% of state or federal cases, you're talking about maybe 95 to maybe 97% of all of those cases, state or federal, pretty much end in a plea bargain. And so when you crank a case up to go to trial, that is like, requiring general dentistry versus needing orthodontist or something. Okay. You know what I'm saying? You need a specialist. And so a lot of times when small towns have to go to trial, they're not really equipped in those ways to go to trial, especially if they're trying to win. And so they have what they call like roaming prosecutors. And those roaming prosecutors is like a half-gun, will-travel kind of guy, back in the Western days. And they get contracted in to come in and prosecute cases. And so when our plea bargains fumbled, because initially we pled guilty to the charges. Okay. It was a 10 to 18-year plea offer that had been offered me and my nephew, and Fox would have received probation. After that all got fumbled from an overzealous lawyer that we had on the case at the time, it ultimately ended up making us have to stand trial, and we forfeited our rights to accept the plea bargain in our best interest.
Now, why didn't you get a mistrial? Because your lawyer was incompetent?
Well, that's usually not something that you find out at trial. That's usually something that you have to litigate. And then depending on what court you litigate it in as to whether or not they even have jurisdiction to entertain it. The complexities of law are so complex and
intricate.
Right. That, the average Joe or Jane doesn't really understand all of those complexities. Not at first. Yeah. It takes time to, really understand all of it. But you've had cases, where lawyers have fallen asleep in trial. And yet, higher courts have even suggested that no harm, no foul. I mean, he woke up in time enough to do closing arguments.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I got to ask that question. I mean, how many lawyers have you had in your entire process, including the one that you had at trial?
I was probably a lawyer every other year average. So when you consider, I had probably about 10 lawyers. Yeah, 10 lawyers over space and time.
How much would you say you've blown on legal fees? And I don't want to say blown. I mean, you were trying.
Right. How much your car was worth?
You cannot even put a price tag.
Correct.
Right, exactly.
Correct.
What we have.
The reason I say that is because, we're talking about you already were faced with enormous odds.
Right.
And now you're not even able to make a living. You're in jail.
Right.
You're incarcerated, and you were in the early stages also in jail. Mm-hmm. So you leaning on your family to try to help you with legal, funds and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's already a disaster trap. I mean, mm-hmm. you ain't got a snowball's chance in hell.
That's right. That's right.
And so you behind bars, you robbing Peter to pay Paul, scraping pennies, trying to get legal fees for people. And is that really just a whole money grab situation? I got to ask that question. Mm-hmm. Do they really do the work?
I think that most attorneys that take up with cases that end up going to trial, in many of the scenarios, they're not properly paid to do the level of work that they have to do. And if a lawyer is not just, if his heart is not in the case, he's not emotionally invested in the case.
That's what I'm saying.
Because if he's not emotionally invested in the case, luckily, at the onset of our matter, we did have two attorneys that were emotionally invested in the case because they knew us prior to the incident. But that's very rare. And then it usually runs out because the business of law comes to play. And he's like, man, I got a law firm I got to run. I can't do this for free.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so even in the most giving of ways, I just can't shoulder this. I can't put this on my back. And I don't know how long it's going to last.
So if Donald Trump says he can shoot somebody in Times Square and get away with it, what kind of lawyers does he have?
I'm sure Don got all the good lawyers.
You get my point, though, right?
Right,
and so
exactly.
So now as a business owner, I'm thinking, if somebody does business with me, they got a better chance at winning because I don't play. I just wish that attorneys had the same mindset and that they actually understood that this is somebody's life you have in your hands.
That's right.
And so I've seen incompetent attorneys.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them. Mm-hmm. In my business walk, I've seen incompetent CPAs. I've seen professionals who just don't deserve the title. Mm-hmm. And so when I hear so many horror stories, you're not the first person that I've heard that has had an absolute ridiculous sentence. Mm-hmm. There's no way to describe what you had as far as sentencing goes. Mm-hmm. 61 years, 45 years, 12 and a half plus 16 or whatever the numbers were. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no reason for that to be even out of somebody's mouth. Like, did you have a jury trial or did you have a
I had a jury trial. And in fact, the way I even got to the point of a 61-year sentence is that in the process of going to trial, 2 counts of jury tampering happened. We tampered with the jury, and
explain that.
Tampering with the jury is when you share information to a jury that has been in panel to hear a trial. And once the jury is put in recess, then any communication that happens between the jury and the defense or the jury and the state, they can consider that a tampering of the jury.
And by sharing information, you're like, hey, look, we ain't do this, or hey, we did that,
exactly,
type of thing.
Exactly. And that was against the law.
Okay, why not a mistrial?
They called a mistrial, but it was 2 jurors that had been tampered with. And then there are 2 alternates that are typically picked whenever you pick a jury trial. So you typically pick 14 people. 12 try you, but the 2 alternates are in the event something like this happens. And then they just swap them out. The ones that have been tampered with, say, okay, well, you can't be fair and impartial anymore, so let me get rid of you. And then another one, the other 2, they say, well, okay, now you fill in, but you've been here throughout the whole days of trial. So you're privy to, what is unfolded in the setting. So just fill in. And so that's what the judge sought to do in my matter is that instead of just upsetting all of this and starting all over again.
Correct.
I think in the administration of justice, he just said, well, I'm going to just put these 2 in since they've been here all day. And then for the stuff that these particular jury members had access to, I'm going to now give access to all of the other jury members. So it's all fair again. And so we ultimately ended up, like I said, in that scenario. And when it played out, I ended up facing 2 counts of jury tampering. And that being said, when I came back to answer for the jury tampering charges, I got 60 years for the armed robbery. And then jury tampering carries the same amount of time that the case that the jury has been impaneled to hear. So my armed robbery...
Is that legitimate?
Oh, it's law. So, yeah, until we change it.
What's the name of that law?
It is the jury tampering law, right? It has a statute, but when you commit it, when you get to the sanction or the penalty phase of like, how do you get punished? Like what amount of time do you get for it? Well, the way that Louisiana's law, at least read at the time that I was sentenced, it was that whatever amount of time that you face for the trial, for the case that you were on trial for, then jury tampering carries the same amount of time. So armed robbery carried 5 to 99 years, so I was facing 5 to 99 years on each one of the counts. Now, if you're facing a life sentence, of course, then you don't get a life for jury tampering. They just give you 99 years.
Why would you ever put somebody in jail for 99 years?
Right.
Who came up with that idea?
But it's still a discretionary thing. So in that discretion, the prosecutor came in, and when he came in on the case, I got sentenced to 60 years for the armed robbery. Then after getting sentenced to 60 years for the armed robbery, when coming back to face the counts for the jury tampering, 5 to 99, 2 times, he brought me back and he says, well, today's your lucky day. In the lucky day, he says that I'm going to suspend the amount of time that you're doing for the jury tampering by 4 years, which would give you 1 year. And then the other jury tampering charge, I'm going to give you that one as well, but I'm going to run it in with the time that you're already doing for the armed robbery. But the one that you do where I suspend the 4 and you got 1, he said we're going to do that 1 separate of the 60. So once you finish with the 60, then you start on the 1 year. And then he said, once you do that, then it's all done. And so he walks out the door, and on his way walking out the door, he said, you ever wonder why I gave you 61 years? And, I was like dumbfounded. No, why? And because you're a good guy. And to which he told me that it would be a way that I would remember that the last time that someone had committed jury tampering in the town was 1938. This was 1999 when I got sentenced, so it's 61 years from 1938 to 1999 when my offense happened. And he said that would give me something to think about while I was at Angola, doing them 61 years.
Now, is he still practicing law?
No, I think he got inducted into the Lawyer Hall of Fame or something.
For what? Enslaving black men? I mean, what the hell?
Hey, brother was doing his job.
Brother?
No, not brother in that sense. I'm just saying brother was doing his job, I guess.
So, lawyer incompetence, jury trial, witness tampering, 61 years, egregious amount of time just because that's just the way the law is set up, I guess. Appeals process. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know this, but you are formally educated in the judicial system. I mean, dude, you got it. Mm. You ever thought about, going to law school and doing the whole thing?
Yeah, they don't honor it. Not here in Louisiana. I mean, you can go to law school, but you can't practice law because the law doesn't allow. Now, they have other states where you can go, you can get a degree, and you can actually practice law. Boy, that Napoleonic
Louisiana is terrible, ain't it?
It is. I mean, crazy enough. Somebody we met this weekend at a conference described a trip that he had taken to Angola as a visitor, and he said it was the oddest experience that he had ever had because it was like the place felt good, but he knew that it was shitty at the same time. And he was like, man, and I couldn't figure out. He said I had to wrestle with that because how is it that I could feel both of these sensations? I could feel this sensation, but I could know this reality.
I know exactly how it is. It's like you're at the top of a cliff, and the adrenaline of looking over as well as the fear of it.
Yeah, and but just all of that, all of that said, it just really set in motion, like I said, a similar kind of thing. And when you look at it, you're like, wow, it is one of those kind of places that you look at, and it's it's a strange animal.
Let me ask you a question. Why did you film so much during your time?
I think to archive our stories is an act of resistance. I started off just excited that Rob and I had finally married. We have dated for 10 years off and on. We had 3 children between us. And the odds for us formulating this family foundation were really extremely high. And so for us to navigate all of those challenges and make it to the altar, I was so excited I started documenting. So when folks watch Time, the film opens up with me saying, well, here we are. Here are the riches. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
So it was in the vein of being very proud that we had formed a family, that our love, we had finally found our way back to each other, and we're building a family, and we had big dreams, you know, and then 6 months later, we would end up in the criminal justice system.
That's a hell of a quick transition, isn't it?
So quick. I remember a woman asking me once, I said, Rob and I were only married 6 months before we entered the criminal justice system. And she says, wow, that must have been a hell of 6 months. I said, it must have been, because I would spend the next 21 years trying to get it back. And so that is probably, the onset of why I filmed. And then it went from that. After he was gone for so long, it was a matter of documenting the moments to make sure that he would be able to partake in them. That even though he wasn't there, I am bringing him in space so that whenever he comes home, because the 61 years, it just wasn't our reality, right? It didn't matter what the court said, didn't matter what the state of Louisiana said or the judge said, that 61-year sentence, it just was not our family's reality. It couldn't be.
So you just couldn't accept it?
I would not. Absolutely not. You know what that would mean? It would mean the death of my family. So it was unacceptable.
I get it.
And so we went and then I began to film so that I could save these moments for him. And then probably when we were a decade in, my ambition for filming probably deepened as a form of saying that I cannot believe this has happened to us. And if it has happened to us, then imagine how many other families this is happening to.
That's the question I want to ask you. How do you think that other women in your shoes do it?
Yeah. When you talk about filming, to close the loop on it, was then I started to film because I wanted to document and show it to the world one day, because I'm saying if this is happening to us, and it is more common than uncommon, I discovered, then I needed to document this, because one day I'm going to tell the world about it. And so that day would come when the film released and at Sundance, and Amazon bought the film for $5 million.
Congratulations.
And it would go on to be nominated for an Oscar, win a Peabody Award. And so not only were we able to tell the story, but we were able to tell it in a way that it reached the entire world. And so when I think about other women that are going through the same, and yes, other women, because men are primarily the ones that are incarcerated. And so that does leave an auntie, an uncle, a mother, a grandmother, a sister, a girlfriend, a wife, holding the bag for that man. And so what I'm thankful for is that in my lifetime that I've been able to take my test, turn it into a testimony to other people, men, women, and children, that one, our families are worth saving. Two, our families are so important, they should never be put at risk in the first place. Yeah. And then three, no matter what we come up against in this life, there is nothing more powerful than the human spirit. And so using the human spirit that is powered by love to overcome any obstacle that we face. And so to be able to have this project that and the sequel to it, because not only did we get free, but to be able to come back and share with people the details of how that happened, to put this liberation tool, this freedom fighting toolkit through this second film in the hands of people. I think that I have done a just service to have gone through something and then taken the keys to what I've learned, package it, put it in film and in book form to be able to disseminate to others on the journey. If I have done nothing else, my family, to help other families along the way. It's kind of like marking the road when you have found the road to freedom from slavery. Yeah. We have done the same thing with this latest film project, Time to Unfinished Business. And so knowing that we have been able to do that for other families, I just can't even put a price tag on what that means.
Underground Railroad comes to mind.
Yeah, actually, what we call it is an above ground railroad. Okay. We have these systematic tools that we have found that work when they are applied. People think, and as a matter of fact, we were working with some churches about how it is that we can teach legal awareness to our justice-involved families. When you think about 1 in 3 families are business. This enslavement is a business, a modern day business. And so the having to have lawyers, the bail bondsmen, the court fees, the fines, all of those things that we get entrapped in, we have created an above ground railroad for people to be able to address those issues through the work we do called participatory defense. That is an initiative of our ministry, Rich Family Ministries. And so for those that want to find out more about that work, the film is at time2twomovie.com, and our website for the ministry is richfamilyministries.org.
Listen to me, y'all doing the work. So, two thoughts right now. A civilization is judged by how it treats its elders. It's insane, it's criminal, and it's poor. And if the punishment for a crime is financial, then what is that punishment to a rich person? You see how those are two completely different mechanisms of discipline? And so I may laugh at a speeding ticket, but somebody who's not financially strong would see that as a real punitive damage. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so when I look at who's in jail, it ain't a lot of rich people. They got a few of them, but not nearly as much. And so there was no way that you were going to be able to fight that mountain by yourself unless you had deep, deep pockets. Mm. And I just realized that so many of our people are in jail because they just don't have the resources to fight for their freedom. Mm. Is that where this ministry comes to help a little bit?
Not even a little bit, a whole hell of a lot.
Amen.
I mean, when you give people a sense of their own power, that's what this work does. It gives people a sense of their own power. We don't empower people. People already have power. That's how they got here and got the opportunity at life in the first place. Yeah. And so when you give people a sense of that power by proven example, lived example, through demonstration, that's what we offer through our ministry. The demonstration, the model of a Black family that has gone through insurmountable odds, yes, and yet prevailed with the same style, class, and grace that we are known for in our community.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you that not very many, I need you to know this, not very many that look like you or I will find the type of love that you have. Mm-hmm. I need you to understand that. Mm-hmm. I'm here to tell you, I'm living proof that crime is a divider in so many ways, but mm-hmm, it didn't separate your love. Mm-hmm. And
love is built. Mm. You don't find it, you build it.
Right.
Every morning when we wake up and we roll over and we say, "Oh, you still here, huh? You still here?
You again."
We gonna do it one more time.
That's it, huh?
That's it. Because you both have the liberty to leave at any time. You know, you're not under arrest. You hadn't been sanctioned or sentenced to be here. You know what I mean? You have an opportunity to leave at any point in time, and but instead you choose one another. And like Fox says, very few people have the discipline to build a love relationship that that stands that stands the test.
Yeah.
I like that action verb, but the thing to build, but it takes willing participants for sure.
That's right.
But I started really looking at the word love, and it means a lot to me. However, love without time, I have to question whether or not it was just a fleeting feeling. Mm. But when you choose each other every day, and you build it, and you work on it, and you minister to it, you foster it, you water it, you give it time, effort, and energy. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And I had to think about it yesterday. I was like, if Black men had that type of a relationship that could make them wake up every day with a new mission and a motivation, that could help them to see the beauty of living. Because I'll be honest with you, there are very few things great about just waking up to go to work every day. Mm-hmm. There are very few things great about just waking up and the gravity of life is just sitting on your back and the color of your skin is a problem in this country. I mean, I get it. I am not 50 years of age without having understood the full implication of being Black versus white in this country. In 2026, it's still real. And so I can tell you that, man, that's a jetpack on your back when you got somebody that's like, speaking wonderful to you, ministering to your ears, because I see that in this very transactional world that we live in, that the relationships today are in dire straits. Do you still believe that somebody 20 can find a relationship like Fox and Rob have today?
I believe that somebody 70 can find a relationship like their own relationship, because our relationships are just like our DNA, Elliott. I mean, it is as specific to our love as our own DNA is to our life. And I just would challenge anybody that it's not an option. Love is a mandate. It is a necessity. We have to have it for our survival. And so if you are really talking about surviving in this life, not even thriving, if you're going to survive, you must find love on your journey. You must.
How does one do that?
I think that you become it. I read this quote from Iyanla Vanzant when I was in prison. She would send out these newsletters, and she was telling a story about how she didn't feel love. And then she says that she realized that she would start taking love with her instead of seeking it when she showed up. So if Black people would stop looking for love and start bringing love into the space when they show up, then they know love will be there when they arrive because they brought it with them.
Muhammad Ali said, "I was the greatest. I said it before I knew I was." And what you just told me was that you have to be it before it is.
That's it.
And that's an actionable step that a lot of people don't necessarily know maybe is afforded to them.
Yeah.
Because remember, if you grow up in a single parent house and your mom's always at work or your dad's always at work and you're raising yourself like we did in the 80s, does somebody tell you they love you every day? Do you know, I bet you the average person in this world is not told that they are loved every day.
How many times have we said it to ourselves? Again, it starts with us. And the more we say it to ourselves, the more other people around us will begin to say it. I mean, I really fell in love with myself, Elliott, when I was on suicide watch in jail.
Amen.
I was facing 297 years in prison. And I was pregnant. Unbeknownst to me at the time, I was actually pregnant with twins. And as I lay there in a room with no clock, no walls, no windows, not knowing when I was going to get out of there, I heard my heartbeat for the first time as I am contemplating, should I even continue living? And when you hear your heartbeat, then you remember that you have absolutely nothing to do with that. The intelligence, the divine intelligence that makes your heart go thump, thump, thump. That is an involuntary muscle. I have no conversations whatsoever with that heart about what it is doing to maintain my life. And so when we just find joy in the fact that we are here, that we have been given the gift of life, that as smart as mankind is, we still don't know how to recreate life. So when we get it, we know that it's such a special entity. We just have to find out what we have come into this life to do. But when you consider there are 8 billion people on this planet and no 2 people have the same DNA, no 2 people are made the same, every single one of us are precious and special. I think it does a thing for you where you can't help but love yourself. And it starts there and it resonates out.
So we need to find self-love before we can seek love.
And you don't even have to find it. You just start giving gratitude for it.
Yeah, you can't love others till you first love yourself. Yeah.
But that love thing, boy, let me tell you something. When I roll over at night and put my cold booty on that man, I be like, thank you, God.
I'm not mad with you. I'm not mad with you.
When I pull a muscle in this 55-year-old back in August, when I pull a muscle in his back and I need some help getting my shirt on, and he's like, I got you, baby. You know, when I walk to the car and he's there to open the door for me, when I turn around and say, babe, what you need me to do for you? It is the relationship, that bond. You just cannot. We are so busy chasing success.
Yeah.
But the greatest success of all is to love and to be loved.
I do not disagree with that at all, because I can tell you now that on my own personal journey, my desire for acquisition, for more, for better. You know, growing up in rural Mississippi, I'm the descendants of sharecroppers. I've been in the fields barefoot picking things, vegetables, putting them on the back of a truck, going to town and selling them for pennies, and happy with the little snacks that we could get as kids, I mean, those were the roots that shaped me to be who I am today. And so a lot of what I have now is I didn't think I deserved stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I've learned to work with and work through. Because, if nobody tells you they love you every day, and if you don't feel like you've done anything, and you don't have what the social media society is telling you is a win and you're successful, then, you really are looking at a morbid existence. Well, add that to the 98% of people in the world that don't have wins, that don't get good jobs at jobs, that don't make a decent wage or whatever the case might be. And education higher might not have been the option for them. And so I know the gravity of just waking up every day as a black man in this country. Not to say that white folks don't have their share of issues either, but I don't think there's anything easy about just getting out the bed and trying to do something for yourself. And so I say that to say that love is one of the things that I use to power my days. And I haven't said that I love myself, but I love my family. But I'm working on it. And we all, thank you for the therapy session. But we all have stuff that we have to do. But I'm going to say it again. What in the hell do y'all want to do now? Because if y'all could have did what y'all done did already, man, listen, we need to go try to get in the White House or something. Cause you can have a record and get in there now, right?
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? But guess what, though? It's still a double standard, isn't it?
That's right.
Question for you. Think about this. What is it about that brown skin color that makes the world turn in such a way that we're still in hatred? The cycle of black versus white still exists today, even more so now than ever in the past. I really kind of struggle with, are we getting better as people?
I think when you consider the fact that we were once in darkness and we now in light, we once were walking, now we fly. When you think about I'm talking about as mankind, not race, not color, not ethnicity or nothing of the sort, but just as mankind, not gender-based or nothing of the sort. But when you look at that and you say that, okay, if I was in darkness and now I'm in light, if I was walking once and now I'm driving, flying, and all the other things, matter of fact, I ain't even driving anymore, somebody else is driving. And you think about like all of the elevations, the heights, that we've reached. And if there is a way that we mark, success, then we would have to say unequivocally that, yes, we are better. You are smarter than your great-great-great-great-grandfather that started, many, many years ago. I'm almost certain he don't know what you know.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So that means that as the lineage goes, then you all are better. My dad had a fourth grade education.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I thought that was like, man, my dad, he wasn't very smart, huh? I mean, he ain't go to nothing but like the fourth grade. And then I sat back and I thought about, man, my dad was born in 1921. So you think about born in the 1920s, and it was later that I realized that, hell, we didn't even have 12 grades. A fourth grade education was as far as you could go at certain points. And so my daddy had gone as far as he could possibly go in terms of what had been created.
Correct.
For mankind, in the way of education. And so it's just a way of helping you put things in perspective when it comes to that, because if we're focused, hyper-focused, that is, on all of the other little intricacies, skin color, do I have enough money? Do I have not enough money?
Yeah.
Do I have enough knowledge? Do I have enough friends? Do I have enough this, that, or the other? I mean, you could always have more, couldn't we all?
Yeah, and you know what? But that's what society does. It drives us for more with never giving us a sense of a win or gratitude for what we have.
If you let it.
And we have to make sure we mark the wins. We count in the work we do, we count all the victories.
Yeah.
Because it's the thing that helps you stay rooted, anchored to the notion that, yes, I am moving in the right direction. I am moving toward my dreams. I'm moving toward the thing that I aspire to achieve.
Yes.
And then I do have the right to reset the goal. Once I reach it, I can go further. So I don't be mad with people like Elon Musk that feel like he got everything. Yeah, you can go further. Go.
Yeah. Because you can't live your life for him.
Right. Keep going.
Yeah.
If you're motivated, if that's what gets you up out of the bed in the morning, who am I? Because you got more than me in terms of that I say, Elon, you can't go no further. Donald, you can't go no further. Whoever, that would be so unfair.
I heard that. You have 6 sons.
Mm-hmm.
How do you communicate with them?
Man, I try to be the best coach I could be. I read a article once when I was in prison, and the article was it was a men's health magazine, but it was for Father's Day edition that they had, and it was talking about the amount of time that the average father spends engaged with his child. And I realized that time was spent, that the average father spends about 8 hours in a 30-day window of time engaged with their children. And I'm like, wow, think about all of the hours that come, whatever 24 times 30 is. You get 24 hours a day, and you get 30 days on average a month. Mm-hmm. And if that be the case, you have an enormous number of hours that you could spend engaged, but yet on average we spend 8 hours. I knew then that if I could get 2 visits in per month, which I was required to have, or that came at the basis of how many visits I could have, and I knew that if I got there early enough, stayed late enough, that I had twice as many hours that the average man had to spend engaged, that the average man spends engaged with his child. That being said, if I be intentional about how I spend my visits, then I could really move the needle here. The other thing that I had to come to realization is that I couldn't be a daddy. I couldn't go to field trips. I couldn't do the things that daddies do.
Right.
But I could father. And I think fathering is a different thing than daddying is. And when it came to that, my method of fathering became similar to that of, like, say, a cuss to Mike, when Mike says that, man, he's like the father I never had. How many times have we heard athletes say, he's the father I never had, or maybe in cases of women, they might say that she is the mother that I never had. But with that being said, they all do it from the sideline. Basketball coaches are not on the court. Football coaches are not on the field.
Yep.
Boxing coaches are not in the ring. They're on the ring post on the side. You know what I mean? Every contest that you can think of in sports, the person that is really, moving this thing is doing so from the sideline. So prison became my sideline, and it was from there that I was able to coach my kids, and hence help them sidestep or bypass the statistical data that said that they were 7 times more likely to be in prison than they would be a college-educated kid. 9 times more likely to drop out of high school because they had a father or a parent that was incarcerated. And so when you look at all of those statistics, 6 boys, and all of them have managed to this point to sidestep all of those negative statistics.
Amen.
No children
Excellent.
out of wedlock, education, opposed to not, no prison records, blah, 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 and it just goes on. But again, like I said, it just came when you asked about the fathering piece. It just came from accepting my role and then saying that my method or my strategy in fathering is going to be that of the coach.
Heard that. And let me tell you something. Coaches are important because my boxing coach, I trusted him. Mm-hmm. And so you have to have that relationship. Tell me about mothering.
Oh, mothering. Mothering on that job. I think that I was just gifted to be able to raise 6 of the world's greatest sons. And I am just really thankful that they chose me to walk this journey with. I've had sons that have been extremely supportive, always being willing to work with our family. We were all in tune with one goal, because I could not have done it myself, done it alone. We were all on one mission, and that was to restore our family. And so when I look at them today, to not only restore our family, but again, to do it with class and grace and style.
She got that swag, bro.
Unmatched. And so when I look at the roster of our boys, and it is one thing, it is difficult to raise a family, but it's even more difficult to raise a family with your hands tied behind your back. And so to know that our eldest son is a sommelier, our second eldest son is an orthodontist over at Bayou Braces. Our third oldest son is married to the love of his life and travels the world. Beautiful. And our twin boys, our fourth and fifth oldest sons. Freedom works in D.C. and Justice is an Army veteran and is living abroad. And the baby boy, Robert Jr., is a second-year student at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, the second top art school in the country. And so when you look at how abundantly God has blessed us, it has been a village. I can't even just say mothering, but from Rob and what he did from on the inside, my mother and how she helped my sisters and how they helped, and my church members, and and some of my, when I got pregnant with the baby boy, I had 5 children already, Rob and I, and so I was like, I need another child, like I need a hole in my head, right? And but I was thinking that if this little life can come through these extraordinary circumstances, who am I to deny it? And when we trust God and trust the process, we will find more favor than we ever could have imagined. I had more favor with that baby boy. Church members just bought bags of new clothes to my doorstep for him. It was really like the community bringing gifts to a prince. What I experienced, I didn't experience that with the other children, you know. But with this baby boy, I felt like it was really the hardest and most inconvenient, the community showered us with love that I had never seen before. And so now, like I said, he is the 19th, the one that I was like, Lord, me again. He is this rock star RA student putting on art exhibits at the second top art school in the world. So
beautiful.
It's not about having all of the tools, but trusting the tools that we have, Elliott, and letting God use and multiply the talents that we're already given to get to where we need to be. And that's when the doors open. And they have to open that way, because if God doesn't open the door for you, you fool around and think you open that door yourself.
So how and where do you get this faith?
Ooh, time. Time. When you are handed a practical life sentence, and you have got to figure out how you're going to take on the entire state of Louisiana to undo it. You will either crumble or you will grow faith that size of a mustard seed that moves mountains. But it also comes from counting the wins along the way. You got to see the champion in you. I'll open up Time movie as a foolish 25-year-old girl about to take on the whole state of Louisiana, and I say in the camera, I feel like a champion. I know we going to be all right.
I heard that.
Right?
Let me tell you something. That mindset shift that you just gave our audience, I want them to all have it.
It sets the tone for everything else. You can do all things
through Christ.
Yes.
Strengthens.
Okay? I believe that. Because, my life is a testament of it, but your life is an absolute monument of it. So tell me about the ministries and what's the core belief, mission? Give me the scoop on that.
At Rich Family Ministries, our mission is to change lives and laws through love. Love is the most divine chemical in the universe, Elliott, and it dissolves everything that is not of itself. And so our mission is just to spread more love. And through that love, you can change the laws. You can change people's lives. And so we are launching some health initiatives through love that are upcoming with our ministry as a part of our grand opening of the House of Fox and Rob, which is our boutique Dream Reclaim this March. And then we do the work of participatory defense as an initiative with our ministry. And so the other element that we are looking to broaden is the fact that only 30% of Black people in America are married. Wow. And so we are seeking to use our ministry to change that number, to actually set out to increase the marriage rate for Black people in America in particular, all people overall, but in particular Black people.
Let me tell you something. I'm going to be an advocate and a champion for you. Let me tell you how I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Because I've been telling people for a long time that rap music has done a number job on us.
It has.
And back in the 70s and early 80s, before the crack epidemic hit, the marriage rate in Black household was almost like 70-something%.
Yeah.
And today that number's down. Now, I do know that that number is down across the board because
but we don't care about the board.
We don't care about the board, but it has some level of implication over the overall picture. But when I say 70%, man, you remember back in the day when everybody had a daddy who drove an LTD with the zipper boots.
Hey, that's right.
And he with the hat, and he was
showed
home.
up.
Right,
And he was home, and there was a mom, and y'all had good home cooked meals, and y'all had a family nucleus.
Yeah.
But today, that dynamic has been, dismayed a little bit, But I like the idea of trying to get more matrimony into our community and maybe, there being a safe space for it. And you are a great example of it. I mean, no marriage is perfect,
Yes, they perfect. They perfectly created with their own DNA. And however it is that people can work to stay together, that's a perfect relationship. It's absolutely perfect.
Keep shifting my mind. I'm getting it, bro. I'm getting it. Okay.
Man, it is these words, Elliott. It is these words that we
She got me changing
them.
the adverbs now.
Yeah,
okay? I get it. The ones in between, huh?
Yes. Yeah,
So
count them wins.
what did you study in school?
Biology. My mother told me to go to school to be a doctor if I wanted to get one of those nice houses in the nice neighborhoods in Shreveport. And so I did just that. But the first time I did my very first television interview, talking about culture, our first business, I said, oh my God, I love this. I love talking to people through media. You can just talk all day. So,
that's a beautiful thing for you. Let's talk about the economics.
Yes.
So when you come out of incarceration, it's hard to just jump on the train and start making millions unless you're a freaking rap star and you're about to go up in there and start telling people about, the drug culture and stuff. So how do you come out of incarceration and get back on the rat wheel and start chasing the cheese like we're all programmed to do?
I think for us, it was just that we never got off. I've been chasing a dream ever since I went into prison. I went in prison chasing a dream.
Yeah.
Once I got in prison, I was still chasing, other dreams. And once I got out of prison, I guess you could say just the receipt of it would probably be when you look at over 30 years worth of documented footage.
Yes.
That had been, recorded, day in and day out to make sure that the experience itself was recorded. But just just looking at, just those pieces, you kind of just see that over space and time, as mentioned, that, we've been doing different things working to get to a particular point. That point happened just short of before I came home.
Yeah.
When Fox met the amazing filmmaker Garrett Bradley and was able to take what we now know as the Oscar-nominated film Time, into a direction that made it become what it actually is now. But that tends to document, like I said, just a long arc of of work that has been done to. To move
I get
the thing.
it.
So when you come home, then it's kind of one of those things that you're just kind of moving into space of where it is that you've already been working.
So you know what you just did? Y'all pivoted. That's all y'all did.
Listen, what they actually say is no matter where you are who you are.
Yeah.
So if you're a dream chaser, it doesn't matter where you are.
You're still chasing
chasing a dream.
That's why you even want to be free, because the dream is not here.
Yes.
Yes. And but with that being said, when it came, into a full moment, that full moment ultimately landed the film to being sold at a top rate. They weren't selling documentaries even at that time in this lane. Not to that degree.
This was a good one.
So when you think about, like how much money Amazon gave for this film, the fact that the film came out just months, weeks even after George Floyd's public murder, the film itself was timely as far as its content and all of that for
sure
for that time. And again, like I said, I think that that's kind of how dreams are. We work to build them, and we do all of the things day to day, and then eventually there comes a day that your dream is up. You know, and it's that moment that, you know, we look at it as success. Some people might even look at it like overnight success, but not realizing, no, I've been doing this for 20 plus years.
It took you 20 years to become an overnight success.
Exactly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that being said, people just, you know, they just blanket over all of what you've done to get here. You got this podcast and people see you in this space, and then, you know, the day or tomorrow, you know what I'm saying, you get a multi-million-dollar deal. They say Elliott came up overnight. No, Elliott has been doing this
for a very long time. So, what keeps you busy now?
Man, the world keeps me busy. Just not giving up on a dream. You know, I'm still chasing a dream. As Fox made mention, you know, here we are now, this many years later, at the root of time, the movie. We were trying to fulfill a dream, the dream of opening a clothing store. And here we are now, this many years later, almost 3 decades later, and here we are yet again, opening a clothing store.
You're going to have some small stuff because I'm a small guy.
You know?
You know?
Well, Elliott, you and I about what and what for the most part. So if nothing else, every time I look, I always look with me in mind.
Yeah. So you shopping for your store with you in mind.
Exactly.
That's different.
You know what I'm saying? You know, but I think, you know, it's kind of how, you know, a designer, they go to the table with them in mind or something in mind.
That
you know,
makes sense.
Somebody that has no butt, somebody has a lot of butt, somebody has hips, no hips, and they design jeans, whether they low riders, high riders, bootleg, boot cut, you know, or whatever. But it's somebody that they got in mind that they're doing it. So yeah, I just do that part because so many people say, "Oh, Rob, you look nice. I like that jacket.
Yeah.
I like those boots.
Yeah.
I like that, you know, such and such." And with it, you know, you hear it enough and you're like, "Oh, I must be pretty good at this." And then if you go in, like I said, with that part in mind, then people tend to buy stuff that, you know, that looks good, feels good, or whatever. But it started with that thought in mind, was that you saw yourself in it.
When is the second documentary? What's the stats on that? Is it out yet? Is it coming out yet?
It is exclusively available for a limited time at time2twomovie.com.
Yes.
And then before it goes on to Amazon's platform. So we're looking at a Juneteenth release this year for it on Amazon's platform.
That's nice. That's a good anniversary kind of conversation.
It is. It is.
For my audience that wants to support you, and they will, because we are like-minded, we're intentional, we're educational, and I have learned a lot. I've learned a lot today about love, about self-reflection, about treating yourself with some respect, about my choice in words and how I see things and how I believe in myself. I'm going to be an amazing person when I get off this podcast. I'm going to punish this planet because they need me to stand up and tell them from the light-skinned side that this is how it's supposed to happen because, man, it's rough out here, you know?
Yes.
I told someone the other day, if you're a 21-year-old man and you are wrapping up college and you're of a brown persuasion, where would you go in this economy to safely be able to invest into a life and a career, et cetera? There aren't that many doors right now. And that's just because it's not so much about design. It's about, welcome to the AI generation. Welcome to everything else. I mean, there isn't Ford and General Motors and Chevy waiting to give you a job and with pensions and stuff, you know? But remember, we raise families off of those cubicles and those little steel collar jobs, right? So today it's a little bit different. But your journey has been inspiring and enlightening, and I want you to tell my audience how they can reach you and how they can support you.
Mm-hmm. We are Fox and Rob on all social media, and our ministry is richfamilyministries.org, and they can come by and see us at the House of Fox and Rob at 336 Camp Street, right next door to the Queen and Crescent Hotel, so right here in the best city in the whole wide world, New Orleans.
Okay, perfect. So we know how to get a hold of you. My brother, would you tell a young man, 21 years of age, give him a piece of advice?
I would think that the piece of advice that I would give a 21-year-old man would be similar to the advice that I gave the men the day that I walked out of Angola prison, and that was to never give up. It was the T-shirt that I wore when I walked out of the prison, but it was also the message that I had given just weeks prior. The last time that I spoke publicly inside of the prison was to, have the men remember to never give up. I think that young men, They come into life, they have an idea of some things that they want to do. How you're going to get there, the sooner you can figure that part out, of course, that's always good. But just know that if success is what it is that you want to do in life, then know that the only place that success comes before work is in the dictionary. You got to work at it every single day. If you want to be a basketball person or sports type, if you assuming that you have the talent for it, and being honest about that talent, then you never give up. You know, if it's engineering, if it's social media influencer, if it's whatever, you know, it is that you're hoping to be in this lifetime, then, you know, hold on to it and never give up.
Never give up. Never give up. Elliott Forman, you should never give up. Mm-hmm. I received that. Mm-hmm. And I received the lesson on love and using my words the right way. I see the perseverance and I see the adjustment and the intelligence and the study and the research, because your judicial background understanding is incredible. Mm-hmm. In Louisiana, you strike again for just doing what you do better than anybody else. But we can even fix that if we put our minds to it. Mm-hmm. I've seen you two do something amazing. This world will know about it if I got anything to do with it. But I will also say that, you know, love defined. I wrote it down. I said, love without time is just a feeling. Mm-hmm. But with time, it's effort. Mm-hmm. And so you're putting concrete effort and statistics to a feeling that is just much more than just a word. Mm-hmm. So to my audience, I say, I got a cultural reset. I got an adjustment in my thought process and my mindset. I now understand that love is so much more than what I probably thought it was in the past. And I wish everybody has their own version of not only self-love, but in a relationship like the one that we see today, you can do anything and everything that you put your mind to. And I want to thank you both for coming. This has been enlightening for me. It's been therapeutic for me. I'm on the couch. I'm already weak. Excuse my language, I'm a bitch, man. I will fucking cry in a minute, you know what I'm saying? But for all those here, follow and support them in every way that you can. Come see them on Camp Street. Buy the T-shirt, never give up. And business is war. Thank you all for coming. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on the other side. Mm-hmm.